Hello, everybody. My name is Alexis Foley. For those of you who do not know me, I am a second year in the Student Affairs Master's program here at the University of Maryland. And I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about my work surrounding campus environments, the motivation behind my work, and then some considerations, some things that have come up for me as I began to look at campus environments, particularly in the Ghanaian context. So the purpose of the project that I'm working on is to look at different aspects of the campus environment, specifically how space is being used, the campus physical environment, and the human aggregate. I'm looking at this based off of different contextual influences at four institutions in Ghana, and drawing connections between those different institutions. And so when I say contextual influences, I mean the history of the institution, which influences the architecture of the institution, and then things like institutional type and the surrounding community. For context, I've had the opportunity to visit Ghana twice on the trip, higher education in the Ghanaian context. And on each one of those trips, we visit four institutions in Ghana. The first one being the University of Ghana Legon, the second one, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the third, the University of Cape Coast, hey y'all, and then the third, a private institution, Ashesi University. So one of the things that I first noticed during our first tour in Ghana was the way that Ghanaian culture was incorporated into each of the different institutions and how the history of each institution influenced that. For example, the University of Ghana Legon was founded during British colonial rule, and you can see that throughout the campus. It's embedded in the architecture, there's more of a formal feel, and you're not seeing as much Ghanaian culture and nationalism throughout the campus. On the other hand, at KNUS, which is Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, which was founded by Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, you can see nationalism throughout the entire campus. There's more of an industrial feel, there's a statue of the Big Six on campus, and we're seeing things like that, right? And so what I started to think about was how campus environments are very contextual. Right? And that's in the Ghanaian context, but that's also in our Western context, right? Me walking through the University of Maryland's campus as a black woman looks a lot different than me walking through my undergraduate institution. Why is that? Because the University of Maryland's campus, as you're walking through here, what do these columns mean, right? The brick and the columns, the very English feel. The University of Maryland actually used to be a plantation. And so thinking about, like, what does that mean? And what does it mean to see yourself and see your history represented in your environment, right? And how does that influence the way that students interact with the space, right? So thinking about these things, thinking about the contextual factors, thinking about how identities interact, how the identities that somebody holds influences how they interact with their environment, right? So on the second time that we went to Ghana and I'm beginning this project, I initially thought that I wanted to use Strange and Banning, which Strange and Banning are two white men who are, I consider them to be kind of foundational for campus environments theory. So I wanted to use the Strange and Banning model to conduct my work, to conduct my work in Ghana. And so I had the human aggregate, the physical environment, the socially constructed environment, and the organizational environment. But what I realized as I continued on was that this model was very white and very Western, and that I could not solely use this in the Ghanaian context. As I'm doing my observations and I'm taking notes, what I realized was that I needed something that was more culturally appropriate. And I haven't figured that out yet, right? So I had to be flexible in my research process because the research structure that I have is not 100% fitting for the cultural context, which is okay. So I think that it's important to be flexible in your use of theory, to think about contextual factors, and to really begin to think critically about the work that we are doing surrounding campus environments, because it is very, very important, but we have to take everything into consideration. So yeah, those are kind of my main points. If you all ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to talk more about this, and I hope to speak with you all again. Thank you.